Hey golfers, Jack Spencer here, Practical Golf for All. So today's New Year's Day. It's a New Year's time to get a new outlook on our golf games, and we can do that by practicing, but practicing properly. You don't need to go to the driving range and get an extra large bucket of balls and just beat on them until you're half dead, wondering why some of them are good, most of them aren't. A good friend of mine was my primary care physician years ago, and he was an ardent golfer and more importantly a student of the game. He said to me one day, "Jack, do you realize that to make one swing change in your golf swing and ingrain it properly, you would need to swing 1,000 times on the driving range? And that's assuming that you execute it perfectly 1,000 times. Or you could do it 100 times in slow motion." I don't know if his percentages or amounts are correct. I never researched that. But the more I study, the more I learn, the more I realize he's correct. A friend of mine, the head pro at Palmetto Dunes down at Hilton Head Island, Doug Weaver. I was down there one day on his driving range pounding balls, and he came up to me and said, "Jack, what are you doing?" I said, "I got a kink in my swing I'm trying to work out, Doug." He said, "Do you realize that if a pro was trying to do, a touring pro was trying to do what you just described to me, that it would take him 4 times as long to hit 20 or 30 balls as what you are doing with this pyramid of 50 or whatever right now?" And of course, I didn't listen to him too much, but he's correct. The very best way to practice your golf swing before you go to the driving range, and especially if you're trying to learn something new, is to do it in super slow motion, as slowly as you possibly can. Now I have a gap wedge here and a little tee that I cut off. That's my target. You always want to have a target. And you can do this at home. You don't need a driving range or a mat or a net. Anywhere you can swing a club. And so you set your club and your stance, you get your position, your ball position, your nice, flex at your hips, your good grip, and you take it back and stop. So from here, what do? First thing you want to do is drop this trail elbow down and in a little bit towards your lead elbow, down and in as this whole thing flattens a little bit. You don't want to ruin your wrist cock. Down and in, like that. As slowly as you possibly can. You can't do it slow enough. After you've done, say, 10 of those, then the same thing. Down, and then let it come through. And you'll see. You'll be able to feel while you're doing this. There, my club head is square, my hands are well ahead of it, and I want to continue to straighten and roll this trail arm. Not your wrist, your trail arm, like that. You'll be able to feel how your weight distribution changes, and you won't have to worry about, is my left heel coming up? Is it not? Should I? Am I getting enough weight to my trail side? Am I transferring it to my lead side? You'll feel all of that if you do it in super slow motion. It's right there. I can tell my weight is mostly on my right side. As I come down into this, I can feel my hips starting to unwind. My legs are starting to get activated. I'm starting to roll a little bit to the inside of my trail foot. I'm getting towards impact. This right arm is starting to straighten a little bit. There, the club face is square. My hands are well ahead of the ball. And I'm going through it and chasing that club head down the target line. You should do this at least 100 times. Do it enough so that when you take your own practice swing, you know you're doing exactly what you want to do. And then go to the driving range and prove it to yourself. But when you go to the driving range, take your time. Mimic that to begin with. And then step back, then readjust and take a normal swing. Somewhere while you're practicing this, there's going to be a light bulb that goes off here. Oh, this is what I need to do to achieve this position. And I know that if I achieve this position and let my trail arm straighten and roll, go down the target line, then I'm going to get a pretty good strike. And then prove it to yourself, because it will happen. That's a really good way to practice. You can do it at your own home. Thanks. I'll see you next time.